Well, hello, noble friends. We're here gathered here today to host another session. We believe this session is more of a growth session and leadership session in regard to your business and your business development. And today we have Rye D'Orazio with us. We're so excited to have you here today, Rye, and what you're doing. And he is the area director at the Fellowship of Christian Athletes, giant organization, Christ-centered, and we're very excited about what he's doing. We'll probably talk about that today. But Rye was born in Avon, where he attended Avon St. Mary's Church in school. He played football and track at Elyria Catholic High School, where he met his wife Sue. How about that? Pretty exciting. And then went on to attend the University of Toledo and graduated with a bachelor's degree in mathematics and participated in football and athletics in action, where he committed his life to Christ. And so he teaches the Word of God, and he's sharing with us today some very important skills and techniques in developing your organization. And even this morning, as I was preparing in prayer, I was thinking this Bible verse, in Proverbs 15, it says, with the counsel of many comes wisdom, right? With the counsel of many comes wisdom. And if you can imagine, you probably have had this before, where you've got one of those concentrated lemonade things you put in the freezer and you pull it out and you put it into a big jar of water or a container of water, and it's concentrated lemon. And you put it in there and you add water, and you could add like a gallon of water to that little bit of concentrate. Well, Rye's like that today. He's got a lot of concentrated wisdom to give us today over his years of experience and all he's doing. So really get on the edge of your chair today. Really hope and pray that today's teaching and message really makes a difference in your life. So, Rye.
All right, brother. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Great. Well, speaking of concentrated lemons, we're going to start off with talking about rose bushes and milkshakes. Right? So we'll start with rose bushes. It's 1972. I'm in Amherst, Ohio. It's up by where I grew up. And we're doing a concrete job for Mr. and Mrs. Stanley and Rosetta Gibbons. Now, it's a big job. We're doing a driveway, and we're going to completely redo the front steps and sidewalk. And guess what was right there on the front steps and sidewalk? A bunch of beautiful rose bushes, except this is a summer. They were blooming, and they were beautiful. And Mrs. Rosetta, as we would call her, never, Mrs. Gibbons, as we'd call her, never Rosetta in those days, right? That wasn't going to go. We could tell, my dad and all of us could tell, that she was more concerned about the rose bushes as she was the beautiful driveway and all these different things that we were redoing. Okay, she was very concerned about her rose bushes. And her husband, he kind of talked like this, hey Lou, you got to go help Rosetta out. You got to help Rosetta out. You got to help Rosetta out. So my dad immediately recognizes this. And so he goes over. He says, I want to introduce you to my oldest son, Vincent. He happens to be a professional landscaper, which he was. He worked in the landscape business in our hometown, Fort Dovers, for years, as well as in our construction business, right? And he said, Rosetta, he got down on his knees and he's got the rose bushes down here. He goes, we're going to take care of these wonderful rose bushes for you. We're going to transplant them for you. My son Vincent's going to take care of them. And of course, it put her at ease. It probably put Stanley at ease more than anybody. All right, because what he's going to do if you mess up the rose bushes, right? We're there to pour concrete, and we're a destructive and then a constructive. And sometimes when we're destructive, obviously you're moving all this, you're going to tear some things up. Sometimes you could just say, hey, you got to get new rose bushes. Call your landscapers, but not my father. No way. And so what we learned, we're watching this. We always think he's a little bit off his rocker anyway. We don't know how to do that. My brother did though. He took the time to move all of those rose bushes, put them in something so they could pre-reserve till we got it reconfigured. The workers that worked with us and our crew, they're like, holy moly, this is great. We had nothing to do with pouring concrete. That woman, we met something that was very, very important to her. And the deal is that we actually learned what customer value is and what really meeting the customer needs was that day. It was such a reinforcement. I was at the age to actually absorb it then. I've seen it a bunch of times, but I was at the age to absorb it. I was a young man. I'm younger in the family, so I was actually taking over to run the business at that time because everybody else was going off to college. It wasn't maybe because I was any good, because they weren't there. So think about that. That was the why and the real value that we added as a company. We were good at cement finishing, don't get me wrong, but that's why customers, you know, that family recommended us, neighbors come by, right? There's a referral business in all this. There's no marketing to get on the internet. Most of we'd get in a neighborhood and we would either stay there a long time or maybe not stay there a long time, depending on what happened and what went on. So another one, I have to mention this one because it came up this week. I just heard it on Thursday at Roy Hall's conference, you know, and it was a leadership conference and Cameron Mitchell was up speaking and he started talking about milkshakes. Thinking, all right, what's going on here, right? But now I'm looking back, I understand exactly where he was going. He went to a restaurant and said, can I have a chocolate milkshake? And they said, we don't make them, sir. He said, he sat back. Maybe I'll get some of these details wrong. He sat back and he said, well, do you have chocolate milk? And they said, well, yeah, yes, sir. And, well, do you have ice cream? Can I get it on the side? Well, sure. And he says, before you bring it out, could you blend those together? So the waitress got it. She got it. She's catching what's going on. So she brings it up. I don't know who came to his restaurant. Was that waitress or someone else walked up to one of their bartenders and said, can I have a chocolate milkshake? Guess what the bartender said? At that time, no. This was their motto. The answer is yes. What's your question? The answer is yes. What's your question? And they made that, you talk, and it's a big deal at Cameron Mitchell now. You get the milkshake awards, you go in there and talk about that. It's rose bushes and milkshakes. We didn't have any of that marketing thing. We had no motto. We worked hard, delivered great service. That's what our father taught us. And you take care of the customer and meet their needs. We didn't call them customers. You take care of our friends and meet their needs.
There you go.
Now, the reason I bring that all up is because that's your culture. So when we're talking about talent management, one of the key things you're going to want to know, we're going to be talking about hiring people, onboarding people, and developing people. This needs to be the thread that runs throughout everything we do. This needs to be the reason of why we do it, and to make sure that's clearly communicated so that as an individual, when I'm thinking of coming on board in your company, when I'm onboarding and surely working in your company, I understand the value that this company has, and I'm emotionally connected to it. I'll talk about this a few times. Information and logic cause us to think. Emotion causes us to act. You need both. I'm going to give you an example where we only went one way. In our company, a talent management business who hired people and did this analysis for a lot of companies. We only used one side of the equation a few times ourselves because we let emotion overtake us. We'll talk about that. So you can see this is the thing that we talk about that sometimes people miss. That is the thing that you want to reinforce it. You want to make sure people know it because that's the sticky stuff of why they come back. People loved working with us on the concrete job. Let me add this to you also. My dad in the day didn't believe in automation. He said he claimed he had a hearing problem, which he did, but it was just fake. He said he didn't like loud noises. Well, he said, I have Vince, Tony, Ryan, Danny. Why would I ever rent a machine, right? We dig it out by hand. So there was none of this, that kind of stuff. It was hard work and tough work. People loved working with us because that was the culture all the time. We're looking for ways to help people meet people's needs and do the extra thing for people. We've moved furniture out of the front room. Oh, my boys are here. We loaded trucks. I mean, we cut trees down. We helped somebody, My brother-in-law's brother was a master person like that, could do that, get up in trees, and he was an iron hanger, and he could do all that kind of stuff. That's just what you did. That's what you did. And that could be why people like to work with us, why they develop right, and why they take that on to wherever they want in their careers. So let's talk about talent management. First of all, we need to get it right. I'm going to talk a lot about the stakes are high. We'll talk about the cost of turnover, the cost of missed opportunity. Think of your energy. Think of your emotional energy that you put into people. That might be the toughest one. It's emotional energy. I was just talking with Pastor Adam here. He helps minister coaches with FCA. He talks about the emotional side that people went through because someone accused a coach of doing something. Yeah. Because the kid wasn't getting playing time. I'm just saying it the way it was. That's an emotional strain on a person, way more than the coaching side, the X's and O's. So you got to consider all that. And it's not always bad. The example I'm going to give you in a little bit, it just was what it was. We put ourselves in a position to have emotional strain because we didn't follow some of the things that we help a lot of other companies do. You think about, it takes time. So talent management takes time. It takes investment, energy. It does take money. But it's either going to lead to acceleration. You're doing talent management however you're doing or not. Great discussion beforehand. You guys will look at the assessments and really digging in deep into people. That's fantastic, right? So you're doing it, whether you're doing anything or not. So your talent management philosophy could be nothing. That's it, you're doing it. Just like people have faith in something. Right. So it's going to lead you to grow, or it's going to lead you to lost opportunity. And even worse, it can cause, not only did it not happen, it's going to prevent you from what was happening. So you got to be careful on it. It's worth investing in. Look at the NFL combines. They want to know how those guys blink their eyes. They're going to pay them a lot of money. This is a multi-billion dollar business. This owners, they like football. That's a huge business. You buy it for $1 billion, you sell it for $8 billion. I don't know, whatever it is now. It's a business investment, period. Sean Harper says this. He says the NFL is a cutthroat business masquerading itself as a nice sport. It just is what it is. That's why they're investing a ton of money in those first, second round people. They need to get it right. As you see anytime on the TV, they get blasted. So that's a great example of it. We want talent management for engaged employees. Engaged employees. No matter what their role is, no matter where they're at, we want talent management for engaged employees. Evidence is clear. Engaged employees perform better, experience less burnout, and stay organized longer. Engaged employees connect to roses and milkshakes. That's what they really do, wherever they're at. And we need to make them understand it no matter where they're at in our business. In our businesses, our administrators, as we would call them, they really actually ran our business. They are our direction, connection to our clients all the time. Then there's no cell phones, you answered the phone, people call, that was the way to communicate. They're on the front lines. They need to understand this better than anybody. A lot of times they only have one chance. So the tone they set was the tone when we got the call, undoubtedly. And they need to understand our business, not just be friendly. They need to understand our business. Engaged employees, Harvard Business Review says this. Our findings highlight that the 3 most important levers that managers have at their disposal right now to boost their employees' engagement are help employees connect what they do to what they care about and what you care about. I had that on there. That's the whys and the milkshakes and those things. Sometimes these people miss that side of it. I'm less cared about things if I get more connected to that than myself. I get on the cause. It's not always a me-I environment then. It's good for their cares, but we need to build that for what the biggest cause is in the organization. Make the work itself less stressful and more enjoyable. Less stressful, I heard Doug talking about it beforehand. Get the right people in the team. If you got people on it that can't function that way, it's not doing anybody any good, is it? It just really isn't. Now you're causing your own stress, right? It didn't have to be there. And the other thing is reward employees. How do you like to reward employees? Ask. We did some things and they said, no, I'd rather have this. I'd rather have a vacation with my wife down in Orlando. It cost us less money. They gave me a bonus of $2,000. They said, no, really. Some people like the bonus of $2,000. Just ask them. Just find out. It didn't have to be the same for everybody. It had to be equal, like, you didn't want to, but yeah, people didn't care. Oh, that's great, Rob. You went down there, great. I just took the money. I wanted to buy a car. I was in whatever I was.
There you go.
We just ask people. That's the key thing. Just ask and find out. That goes along with getting their profile, you know, what that really makes them tick.
Mm-hmm.
Gallup defines employee engagement as the involvement, enthusiasm of employees in both their work and the workplace. You guys go to co-hatches? You ever been them around town? It's a shared working environment. They're fantastic. I mean, they help you engage. I don't know what it is. I have that beautiful office at home, but I got to get up and go down the co-hatch. I'm at the deck. I got a nice place to work. I got to get them go down the co-hatch. It's an engaging environment to work in.
That's right.
That's what they really create.
True.
A lot of times there's a mismatch between leaders and what they think their employees need versus what they need. And so you got to do investigation. You have to do things like assessments. You have to ask the questions. There's all kind of ways you've got to get to that to make sure you really understand your employees and what makes them tick. And you know, when you go to the educational side, they'll say this: performance can be thought of as the degree to which an employee is going to be engaged, feels committed to the organization, identifies with the organization, feels satisfied with the job, feels energized at work. So a good test of that we're going to talk about is, what do people say about you? What do your people alone say about you? When someone interviews you at a company, what do they go back and tell somebody? What do you want to go back and tell somebody? We can be very intentional on that. That's the key thing. What are your clients saying about you? These are the type of things that affect engagement of employees. You know, in 2023, there are going to be significant challenges that are faced. There's a competitive landscape for talent that's unparalleled right now. You can't just work at unemployment. It's in different job sectors and markets. It's a challenge. There's a challenge out there. Again, I go back to Cameron Mitchell. What a great culture to go work in. Their restaurants are thriving. And every time I've been there, I've gotten great service. I'm trying to get one of my grandchildren to get into there and learn that business, learn the entire side of it. It's a great culture to be in. It's pretty demanding, but that's a good kind of, we're demanding on the workers. Right? People that came work that's never worked that hard in their life. They love doing it and they want to learn how. So you have to look at, it's an exhausted workforce. And we'll talk about people, we heap more work on them. And it could be an economic downturn. I'm not going to be the dooms person, but they're saying it could potentially, in certain segments, be an economic downturn. So how we respond is going to be dependent upon the talent we have staying and the talent we're going to be attracting. Because at the end of the day, that's all we are. Even if you're a technology company with websites and people coming in, and one of our businesses, we had a lot of consultants. We had first about 200, then up to 800 consultants out there across the country. That was a people thing, right? The next business we did, it was a lot less people, but still impacting businesses. We still had talent. Talent didn't matter. It was the core of everything we did. So talent management encompasses all the company's process to attract, develop, motivate, and retain high-performing, engaged employees. You can retain employees. You can retain employees. You want to retain engaged employees.
There you go.
It's there to nurture people. And the reason I said the foundation, because we'll talk about getting on common ground a lot today. Talent management's a lot about communications and getting on common ground. I say it's time and it's communications. My dad used to say this: communication at its best is poor. What he tried to home into was, it's so important you re-communicate, ask questions back. We didn't have any contracts. It was, hey, shake a hand. That was a contract. And you said it was 3 feet. I thought you said, 3.5 feet. I just made your driveway a half a foot longer, and I'm close to your border of your neighbor who was not a friendly neighbor. We now have a problem. Or how about this one? I'll quickly throw this out. My dad said one time, the master communicator there is, he was, go across, my friend has a job, I talked to them there in the neighborhood, got a referral, They live right across from my buddy Joe at 235 Whitman Drive in Elyria, where I went to school. No problem. I know right where it's at. We were at the house. You walk in, there's a house here and a house there. Which one you go to? No one's home. You think there's no cell phone. You don't call. Are we not going to work that morning? My brother Tony and I flip a coin. I don't know. We're going to do something. We started digging in the wrong yard. The lady comes home from dropping the kids off. We're digging. Thank God. We got there a little bit late. Don't tell my dad. He's gone. He probably still yelled us. And we only had a little bit. We had a string line and we're digging. How would you like that to come home to that? Communication. That was a great example. Small one, but we learned communication.
Very good.
So it's very, very important. We got to get this right. Cost of mishire. What do you think the cost of mishire is? Take it in a range of what an employee makes. What would you say, Rob?
Be a high percentage, that's for sure.
High? Doug, what do you think?
I know.
So the stats are at least minimally 1.2 to 1.4 of their salary, annual salary. And you just extrapolate it out. And we always say this, it wasn't like, hey, you got this to me a month late, now we're a month delayed. No, we had to have the process and we're 6 months delayed. Because we had to start this whole process up. The later we started, it keeps expanding out. The employee you have a mishire with, it's not, okay, we'll hire another one. Look at all that opportunity you lost. That's the key. That's the key word. So, talk about this. So important.
Right.
Yes, yeah, no questions, please.
Well, if you lose a good employee that has that tribal knowledge, do they have data like if replacing you is 1.2 to 1.4 of salary, if you lose through lack of engagement, a good employee and they go somewhere else, they should have extrapolated numbers on that.
Well, what you have to do is you have to look at opportunity costs and what value there. We haven't, but what value are you bringing to the company? Yeah, we sure do. So one of our top employees, a technician left, we had top-notch people, we did engineering development for major deployments of Fortune 200 companies. So companies are paying us a lot of money to figure out how to deploy this technology over 60,000 users. The stakes are very high. Dan was one of our top people. We never asked. We never asked those questions. And think of that opportunity loss that could jeopardize a project.
Yeah.
And luckily we had people to backfill. Guess what? We had to take them from somewhere else because of the life cycle that project was in.
Gotcha.
That's the key. So we don't have a strict measure on it. It's high.
But,
An engaged employee losing them is high.
okay,
Very, very high. Way higher than that.
way higher than that.
I mean, it's exponential.
Yeah.
Exponential. And you know why? It's because I went back to what we didn't do before. We never asked Dan. Should we could have met his need in about 3 seconds?
Yes.
Oh, right, here it is. Sure, do that. Yeah, absolutely. Our bet. He's still a dear friend. So, all right, determining the right fit. Number one, know your company. We call it Success DNA. We'll talk about the details of it. What's your hiring attributes? What are you really looking for? We're going to talk about that, but think about that. Do you know yourself as a company? For us to hire, right, we had to know who we were first. Let me give you an example. I want to jump on it. At NC Group, our example is this, that we have to know what our skill sets are, what our core competencies are, and behaviors are. I think, Doug, you mentioned that before on the projects and the teams. Well, we need to fill in with this void of people who we are. Here's who we're not. We came up with the idea, we don't train people. Here, you can see what we did. We didn't train people on the core technology that they needed. It took us some good people that we hired, untrained, totally out of their element over here. Because there was guys like Dan Russick over there. These are high caliber operating people. We didn't train at that base level. Finally, we figured that out. We'd actually send them over to companies that did. Hey man, why don't you go work for Xerox? It has great EDS is a great training down that core stuff. Heck yeah. If they never came back, that's okay. Unless that's when we were interviewing people, they checked off all the other boxes, but they didn't check off that box. So we struggled a bit with that until we actually said, we had to admit it. It sounds great. Oh, we train you, we provide all this. That was a brush over. Here's a book.
Right.
On the base stuff. Now, how to do this? I have to say we're pretty world class at that. That's what we did for a living. That high-end technology, best practices, all that stuff, we're very, very good at. So the question is, who are you? You know really who you are, your strengths and weaknesses, and what talent do you need? Makes a world of difference. Are you on common ground on that? If all three of us from the same company, would we all agree upon what we mean by hiring this person and what the skill sets are required, and what the competencies are required? Would we be in the same dictionary of what the words even mean? And we're gonna go through a process on that. So let's go to talent acquisition. Every player is engaged. Everybody wants to hire. Does anybody not want to hire an A player?
Yeah.
Anybody? Anybody? And remember what an A player means. It's an A player for you. We don't label those people. It's just an A player for your company. That's all it is. We need a big, tall, wide receiver because that's what we need today.
Right.
Well, the guy that's a third fast guy who can get all over the field, he's not in our DNA today. He's not bad. He's just not an A player for what we need. Go to another team. And it's just why athletics? Because it's visible. We all see it. That's what I love. Athletics gives you visibility in your business. These tools and the tools we were talking about, assessment things, just give you visibility into people and visibility in your business. You need that for your talent ongoing constantly. You got to think of it constantly ongoing, getting visibility because it changes. You'll see my profile up here in a minute on communications, and I'll tell you how it's changed a bit as I go through. You need clarity, common ground, common goals. Think of this. Clarity fosters meaningful communication. Clarity fosters meaningful communications. You and I could be talking about the same topic. I talked about my friend in the early days of personal computers. I called it PCs. We talked for 20 minutes. We then came to a thing that total clash. I mean, not yelling, but that's not right. That's not what it is. He was talking about process controllers. I was talking about personal computers.
Oh,
But they were similar. The units, they had some of the same things that they interfaced with. We laughed. We cracked up. It would have been nice to get on common ground first. So talent acquisition, it's got to be part of your plan, part of your branding. It has to be aligned to your goals, obviously. Excellent candidate experiences. People experience at Cameron Mitchell, they have a good experience. Experience trumps everything. I can tell you how good we are, but when you experience, you're emotionally connected. When you're fixing rose bushes, you're emotionally connected, or carrying out furniture, or doing the extra thing. So that's the type of things, and it starts with do we know ourselves. So let's get an exercise up here. Fill out on your handouts there, this one right here. Okay? And let's pull that out. This is what we would start with. So we're coming into your organization, and we're going to hire a sales rep for you. Let me get mine out here. All right, here we go. We're going to hire a sales rep for you. Hey, we're hiring a sales team. We're going to start with a sales rep, all right? What are they? Okay, they need to be able to prospect, they need to be able to close sales, help with proposals, and boom, boom, boom. They need to be experienced in the technology business, right? Sound good? And they're going to be working in our corporate sales, outside sales, and they'll have an inside sales support team. All right, we're going good, right? So we had to look at ourselves. This is a gut check of our company. When we did this at both companies, we did it at Rand Barney Group for a living. We did it at our NC Group, which is our technology company. We did it because we needed to hire top-notch people. The stakes were high.
there you go.
And we had to figure out, again, it was a shining light. We're not even who we think we are. We're saying these words, we don't know what they mean. So let's go with the top one. We'll step through that. And so you guys circle where you think your company is, or the companies you're involved with, on what side. If it's strong, you hit the plus on that side. You can see how it is. It's just a scale of growing. So let's go intangible product, service package versus tangible. Who's doing, you guys do car sales, right? Some of you are involved in that business. Pretty tangible, right? Very tangible product, right? We're doing best practices. They come in and help you do a technology deployment, best practices. There's really hard to be very tangible. You know, in fact, how about this? The people don't even know they need it.
Yeah.
So we would say we were high on the left, so we circle high on the left. Where's your company? Circle it. Where do you think you're at, Rob? Companies you're involved with?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe you didn't know that.
Yeah. So
Well, that's okay. It's good to know that, right? So you may, you know, it's a different rep. Salesperson maybe can sell the tangibles. My nephew can sell copiers and those physical kind of stuff, computers. I've never seen anybody like it. You show them, we try them, okay, let's move them with consulting. Bad idea.
Not tangible.
Really bad idea. Man, he had the physical thing, I can close it today, short sales cycle.
yeah.
The consulting, these projects, man, they're a long sales cycle. People didn't even, you had to call them up, hey, Rob, I didn't even know you needed it.
That's right.
Let's go talk. Okay, you get it. So what's fun? Disruptive product service offering. Hey, we're changing the industry. We came in with personal computers, networking, fax machine, all that stuff. It's very disruptive. It's changing things. You got to find the early adopters for stuff like that. R&D organizations. They're the people that are going to invest in that. Mature products. Geez, oh man. Look at where technology is today. Who doesn't want to have a cell phone? Our first cell phone was this big. We thought we were like these high-tech crazy people, right? Nobody was buying them. They were very crazy expensive for back then. You're paying $1,500, $2,000 for a cell phone back in the late '80s. Are you kidding me? That's a lot of money. So we were always on the left side. Emerging industry, that was us. All right. Delivery and support. That wasn't as emerging as us, believe me. That was old school consulting. You would think it would be. We were that was maybe a plus on the right side, right? We were old school consultants. People have been doing it for years. Not necessarily how our engagement process worked, but they've been doing it for years. That wasn't new. Okay. Support, we were probably on the plus to the left over there. Superficial customer service staff, that's us. Well, all our consultants are on the field working on projects. If you called in, right, you had local people. So it was just a whole different model. So now you think about this, go down, look at the market support. Is it a mature market, speculative market? We were speculative 100%. In the beginning of our company, it became very mature. You know, in 1998, when we're selling networks, it wasn't even a question. Everybody had them. It was the next generation, fifth generation. If you didn't have it, it was like, what's wrong with you? There's always somebody on the trailing edge of technology, right? Some people were there, you still had to convince, but very few. It hit the tipping point. So, here's a big one. You're hiring your sales rep. Where do your leads come from? This is a big differentiator. So we're selling to the same CIO, the same head of a business unit of pharmaceuticals at Procter & Gamble, all right? We're going to hire someone to go do that. They came from IBM, Honeywell, Xerox. They generate 0 leads. They handle 2 or 3 accounts. They have a whole sales support, sales engineers, everybody in there. And C Group, you get 0 leads. Every now and then you get something from a vendor, right? Someone, you know, so it's just the opposite. Very little. We had sales support from a team, but you needed to be able to do proposals. You had to be able to listen and articulate that back. You're getting the idea on this?
Mm-hmm.
So if you go down this life cycle, this will expose you in a great way of who you really are. You're going to hire a different salesperson. That IBM person come into our business, great person, and made a lot of needs, experience. Holy moly, you got to make so how many calls? You got to find your own reps? What? Not good. We just wasted a lot of time. You went out to an account, you built a relationship with a couple. We just, oh man, you got to redo all that. We learned. Until we did something like this, the true DNA out, we really didn't understand what our sales reps needed to be. Now it matured a bit as we go, so we couldn't always stay there. So we did have to mature a bit. We did need account managers eventually. Hey, you got our 3 of our big accounts. That's okay, because they're huge. So we had to change in our life cycle and blend over. It's a lot easier to go from a rep That's marketing, generate reps, can do proposals and have them be a major account rep than it is to go the other way around. Why? They understand the whole life cycle of that business. They have relationships in there. They can use that to expand business there. To go the other way, it just didn't work. And we had a couple failures. Man, you gotta hire Doug. He's knocking it dead over there, man. He's looking for a new job. Whole different structure he's used to selling by. He's got the brand name of IBM behind him. Nobody knew who the heck we were. We didn't do a brochure for 10 years. We just weren't that smart. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, it's no kidding. We decided, we know who to call. Let's call the CIO. Why would I send them a brochure? And guess what? They picked up their phones. We weren't anything special. Rob, I'd have to call maybe 10 at night. They're still working. Then you got a brotherhood, right? That was our thing. You call them after 8, the CIO didn't answer their own phones. It was etiquette. Hey man, what's going on? You working too? Yeah. You have instant common ground bonding. This is what we did. So you get the idea. If you go all down, we didn't have we had a decent CRM. Our onboarding was not good with this organization, but we improved it a lot. Professional sales management, we were probably right in the middle. No sales operations, I'd say that's probably, we were on the right side of that. We didn't have a whole lot of administrative time in our whole company. We try to cut administrative time to the exact absolute minimum, but what we did require, you had to do. There's a very attractive element of it. So you guys can go through, you can look on the other side, the selling profiles. I'm not gonna go through all of them, but you get the idea of the value that something like that brings. It's just really getting real with yourself. You gotta get real. You can't play around. When we watch film and football coaching, it just was what it was. We call it the big eye don't lie. Either you missed the tackle or you didn't. Either you're in the right coverage or you weren't. We continually can't stop that play. We need to do something versus fool ourselves. And that's how you lose games and you lose coaches and you lose fans and you lose your job.
That's right.
Very impatient in this world today. So look at your sales profile. That's what we really wanted to get through. Questions on that? What's your first feelings as you step through that? John, what were you thinking?
Helpful for clarity to, all right, so what's in our DNA that we're not going to change? And what's
That's
in
good.
what do we want to improve so that it's either in the middle and we want to make it strong one way or another because lukewarm doesn't attract,
That's right.
or what on the wrong side of the scale and we need to totally change it. That's going to take a lot more time and effort. So I think it helped identify what do we do well, keep that. What do we need to be doing well that we're not? And what are we kind of lukewarm, kind of in the middle? Like we need to decide what side of the fence we're on. We need clarity for that sake in order to attract and keep the people who communicates the best and engages the best. So I think it's helpful to so many aspects. By the time you go through, you get a good, helpful overview of where you're at, where you want to be. I think it's a good analysis tool because it's so many points to it.
I'll tell you what. Take this.
Yeah.
Where there's CRM and the other ones. So, by the way, on Excel, and the problem is, and let's go back to weeks, right? But maybe you do yet. Okay, if you went back, I don't. So understand that there's a milkshake, and there's
Absolutely.
there different rather than there something on a piece of paper. The products. online with people, and everybody's CRM picture is on the screen, you know, and we're looking at it.
It's empowering.
It's empowering. And so I think in your here, it's not methods you're using.
Absolutely.
You know.
And you need to hire people maybe accordingly that could be a critical hire. We needed someone to come in there and gonna help us. That gets the CRM, they get it.
Yeah.
Be a catalyst on our team. We had to get there at some point, you know, when, don't forget, we're early days of technology. This is back in 1982. You know, we implemented like the 51st Ethernet network board made by 3Com ever.
Wow. Wow.
Just invented, Bob Metcalf inventor. So some of these things weren't there. And to your point, Rob, we even knew how to do something. More, the facilitation of them was holy moly. Took a lot of effort with the Excel stuff.
Yeah.
And so what happens? Takes a lot of effort, you don't do it.
Yeah.
I had that
Yeah.
exposure. Think about when you said that, I think of visibility. I got the end zone view when I'm coaching football versus this kind of a staggered view over here from the side. That's a great point. And Doug, anything on that? Just what's your reaction?
On,
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
Yeah. Farmers and hunters, right? That's right. Either way going
yeah,
sometimes.
we're trying to,
Yeah.
a hunter and a,
Very hard, very hard. And very few can cross that road.
no, so you know,
Yeah, it's very, so this gets you the big item line, we call it, you can't help it. So we sit with the client, now we can really help you hire what you really need better, because this person could be great, but shoot, they're not gonna, they'll die in this culture that you have. They're not ready for this life cycle. This person here will thrive in it. That's the idea, because we're gonna get the DNA of the people as well that you're hiring.
Both would be identified as A players because of the intangibles.
That's
Skill
correct,
sets
yeah.
and the mindsets, but they need to
Right,
be in
so
the
either
right.
way, you didn't know this person A players. I'm gonna get a thing of water over here. So we did a study, I have to help on a study of triage nurses down in the hospital system down in Florida. It's my buddy Jim, you'll see some people vest some of their stuff here. It's a great assessment organization and tool, they're fantastic. And they get it, they just try to see what people are. And so you go with triage nurses, right? We'll talk about that. And the difference of their nature of reaction versus a sales rep is like complete opposite. I was in a triage, one of our staff members, John Norris, he was in intensive care. I'm sitting there talking very nicely. You would think this is the nicest lady in the world, and she was, until he coded. She forearmed me out of the way. I said, man, our players don't hit that hard. I mean, the intensity was unbelievable, under control. Complete controlled intensity. Just shoved me like, I mean, didn't even have time to talk about bam, 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 bam. The people, 3 of them ran in there. John's back on mine. I'm like this. Wow, to your point, perception was, right? Nice calm lady. Her nature reaction was like that. As a sales rep, it can't be like that. You say, I don't agree with that, right? Well, why wouldn't you, Doug? Why wouldn't you agree with that? Well, tell me about that. What are you thinking about it, right? It's okay. Real low nature reaction. So, yeah, that's the side on that.
Yeah.
Part of our DNA, we're calling it success DNA. We're gonna go through a day in the life, hiring criteria, behaviors and competencies. Competency, the ability to do something efficiently through a combination of observable, measurable knowledge, skills, abilities. Behavior, pretty simple, the way we act. You have to have an interview guide, interview feedback and scoring, and a 30, 60, 90-day plan. So here's how we violated this. So look at this whole sales profile. We have all these tools we're doing to our customer, and think of a line like this. Let's draw a line. We'll call it the power line. Above it, put a big thing called emotion, emotion, emotion. Not emotion, it's emotion that you're attached to the value, not emotion I sold you on something and I got you all jacked up. So think of that, we call it the power line. Below the power line is rational things, information and logic, causes us to think. You need to have both. That's why these things bring out visibility. That's why we do tests. That's why we keep stats. That's why we do assessments. To your point, that's why we went through the sales profile. It gets visibility. But we need this is our talent management company. We need a rep, cover a certain area. And the profile is pretty similar to our other company relative to the sales and the training. Very similar. You talk about a person that had culture fit, he's probably better than most of the people we had. You talk about a work ethic fit, it's unparalleled. I mean, it's unparalleled work ethic fit. If you talk about his behaviors relative to that, very good. His experience, not good. Didn't understand the core things. His experience relative to what we needed, not there. Okay? So guess what we did? We went all here. Think of this emotion thing up here, right? We got so fired up, and I knew the person, so I stepped back from the interview process. Of course, I wanted to hire him, right? And I've known him a long, long time. And he's got these things. Who wouldn't want this person? To your point, John, who wouldn't want that person as part of their company? How could we not hire him?
Mm-hmm.
He just exudes and all that stuff. Guess what we only made a decision on? We do this for a living. We're doing this with clients all the time, trying to talk them off the ledge with people. Now, we talk people off the ledge. Hey, here's what's going to happen. Hey, Rob, you can do that, but you might experience this in 6 months.
Right.
This is what we did for a living. And guess what we made a decision on? All on emotion because of who he was, and he had all those characteristics so high. We forgot how we operate and what we needed. We didn't check off the rational boxes. Guess who? Now what are you going to do with him?
Right.
How do you fire a person like that? What are you going to do? Person's just underperformer and all that. I mean, this person runs to the wall. Yeah, I'm in, all in. Talk about disruption. Talk about lost opportunity. Talk about emotional investment. Very hard. That's an example of us, and we do it for a living. We did use our process, but man, we went all on the emotion.
Interesting.
We totally went to the top tier and based our decision purely on emotion. So let's look at some of the things that help us. Take your day in the life handout. I'll bring that one up. There's job descriptions. This is another part of the DNA that we talked about, success DNA. This is the job description. So John, come on and work with our company. You're gonna have to go out there and do some prospecting. You do prospecting, John? Well, tell me a little about the prospecting you do. Yeah, I do it. We do blah, blah, blah. Okay. Well, we didn't know how many follow-up calls. I should put the number on there. Usually we do. All right. We put, you're gonna have to make, if we don't put it on the job description and interview off of this, it all get on common ground. This gives you common ground. Job descriptions don't give you common ground. They're for HR. I love HR, but that's what they're for. You need to have legal and have it all out there, a nice thing to post. This gets you common ground. What don't you understand about it?
Clear expectation.
It's just, it is what it is. Now, we even used to put, I'm sorry, in this example, we actually put how many calls you want to make a day at least. Just get it out there. Big company guy with all the support, to your point, more like a farmer, even though he was selling. He had 3 accounts. He had all this big team. He's not out there really hunting. He's just right there to give him the account. Whew, no way. So if you look at this and you go down it, you come up and how much time you're going to spend on that. That was the other thing. How much time a week you spend. This is very clear. You can interview right off of this.
Right.
I mean, that's the idea. We use this to create the interview process and what we meant. Remember, there's a book out. It's called Social Justice is Not Biblical Justice. And the premise is we're using the same words, but there's a whole different definition we're coming from. So we all agree PC, right? Process control or personal computer. This just clears that all up. Exactly what it is what it is. And you don't have to have all these. You could have 2 of these. It doesn't matter, whatever it is. So we take this, the sales DNA, if we're hiring salespeople, right? Then we say, look at there, we match it to this, and then we get guess what our clients, when we used to bring this kind of stuff in, they were, oh man, thank you. The sales team wasn't even on common ground. And maybe they did an assessment as things got more mature, but they just did it to check off a box. They didn't really analyze and really look at it. So this is what we call a day in the life. It just is what it is. I mean, it's out there, right? You can't hide. The big I don't lie. It is what it is. So that's what we really look at on that kind of stuff. So you can utilize things like this, adapt it to the organization, and just get it out there. Just get it out there.
That's good, Ron. That's good.
It really is. It's that way. And we recommend doing assessments of behaviors. I'm going to pop one up here in a minute. I just warn you, just try not to label eagle doves and things. Use it as, it's just a profile with a PPR relative to the roles we need. And it's just a view into the person. Like we talked about the triage nurse versus the nature of sales. What do you need? Where's a person at? Okay, they just don't meet that. So let's be aware of that. Here's what Susie Welch, the CEO of Semantics, says. They're customer marketing product design for Fortune companies. Okay. Hardwired versus teachable. Think about that. Competency behaviors, some are more hardwired, some are teachable. Some hardwired ones, if you want to look at them. We're going to give you a whole list of a bunch of them. Positive energy. You know, people that just don't have positive energy, they're good workers in the role they need to go. I do. It's coming, they're not going to get people excited. Ability to inspire and motivate. That's huge in their business, in their marketing business. You have to have that attribute. That's hard to teach. You can bring it out of a person, but if they don't have it in them. Passion. It's hard to teach passion. You got to be able to get down and understand the value of fixing somebody's rose bush. My dad had a passion for helping people. We quite didn't at that point. We were just getting it, although it's part of your culture. He had a passion for helping people, plain and simple. It's hard to teach. Luckily, we had that DNA within us, you know, that had that. Okay, creativity. It's not going to teach creativity. I mean, that's a hard part. Teachable ones. You can teach people how to make decisions better. We have a part of our whole process is decision support tools. Right. Hey, use a tool, right? Even above the line, below the line. If we used it right, we'd have been fine. Okay? Ability to execute, just like before, right? You can use that CRM, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it just brings people in. Maybe they are a little bit not as organized, right? That brings them right in. Sure, we could teach that. Now, maybe they can't create that, but they surely can teach people to use it. People that are all over the place, you can teach to use that. So that's another one, communication. You can teach people to communicate better by tools that we use. Our team, now these are high-end tech people. They made a lot of money back in the day. We were billing at high rates way back when because of what we were doing. The risk is high. It was. You had a lot on the line. If you're going to design a system to start on Friday at 5 and by 6 o'clock in the morning, that soap plant better be cut over on the new technology or on the old. There's no option. The plant is running on Monday morning.
Right.
Preferably on the new because the person that hired you and paid you all that money didn't really want to repay you. They didn't want to shut the plant down for another weekend. Stakes are high, right? So they paid you a lot of money. So these are the kind of design people and think tank people that we had and technology people that you had. So we did daily status reports. What? It had nothing to do with marking your time. What are the issues of the day? Get right in front of the client right now. You better go tell them too, if it's a hardcore one, right? What's the core things you accomplished? Simple. What are you looking to do the next day? And we build a database out of the issues of the day. So if you're coming in, Doug, you came in the project, I need you to help on something, we build our own knowledge base. The customers had complete view in their projects. Then we had a dashboard way back when in the days. We made one. Even though it was crude technology at the time, we had a dashboard that gave them project status. Your manager walks in, what's the status of that project with NC Group and that plant cut over? He's not keeping it. Guess what? You pop it up, go look at it, oh, here's where we're at, okay, great, oh yeah, we have this issue, we're working on it. Again, that's a milkshake, that's a rose bush. That helped that person be better. Guess who they wanted to come to the meetings with them? In their own meetings. NC Group people, why? They're gonna take status notes, meeting agendas, recaps. They're gonna recap it, send all the information back. They liked how we work as much as or more for us, or what we did. So you can teach these disciplines. That was a non-negotiable. Non-negotiable, right? So there's level of process and things that you can also teach. So here's what Susie Kiss says. When we hire for a product design team, we start with technical ability, creative talent. When we evaluate for a culture fit, we finish with the passion test. This they do hire, design, and marketing for major corporations. If you have great creative talent but are weak on the technical, we figure we can teach you technical precision. We have a pixel perfect goal for everything they do in their design. We can teach you how to do that. We're very diverse in our team, all over the place, cultures, background. It's because we're trying to pull the most creative people out. That's just the nature of it's going to be. We're going to pull the most creative people out. Some of them even she calls a rebel streak. And we had to do that too. We never called it that. I got to be able to look at you and say, Brother John, I'm sorry, man, you can do that, but this is your future predictable problem if you do that. Are you sure you really want to do that? I'm really going to press you now. John, we really need to check into that. The customer isn't always right in that situation. They're hiring you to ask them to expose where they're wrong, actually, even if they don't know it. That's what you got to be. So that's what she's saying here. She called it a rebel, but that was their MO. That's what they needed. And so, but she said the biggest thing was they could make a check mark on all those, but if the candidate fails on the passion test, it doesn't matter. Money. Non-negotiable. They can't fail on the passion test. She says passion's hunger, curiosity, thrill, pushing things a little bit farther. When good isn't good enough, desire to do something better than anybody has done before, desire to exceed expectations. Not just one time, but over and over again. Here's a conversation with her and a candidate. We'll pay you well. We've got great benefits. And I protect my team. Nobody messes with my people. I like that. And that's a good coach. It sounds like a coach. It really does. It sounds like a coach. But I'm not interested in mediocre work. This is not a place you just go and crank out a bland, uninspired, finished product. We are a relatively small team. We are the best in the business, and we're literally changing the world. She's getting them linked to a milkshake and a rose bush. Hopefully you go on, they found out how. They're literally changing the world. We felt that about our business because we're cowboy pioneers in how you deploy this new technology. That's really how we felt. If you join the team, I want the best you've got. I want you to fight to make everything you design to be the best it can be. Not compromise, when compromise can be the easy answer. Don't move the rose bush. Forget about the milkshake. They can go somewhere else and get that. Compromise. Let me make it clear. You're going to be pushed to do your very best work, to create the best in class experiences that millions around the world are going to touch and see. That's the bar. The entire design team sets and works towards. That is what I'm looking for in you. Are you interested? And if the candidate's eyes shine, their body leans forward, they have a little grin on their face, and they mumble something like, when can I start? I know I've got the compassionate, right person. She just lays that right out there. I mean, I love that. That's like in caps is what we were talking about.
I love it.
Susie in caps, what we were talking about. I love that. It's just, you know what? Who's the most attracted to that?
Mhm.
A players. They love that challenge. They love it. A players for what she's looking for. It could be A player somewhere else. But A player she's looking for, man, they love that challenge, man. I know my granddaughter, she'd be one of those, all right, when do I start? Oh, yeah? I'm going to work today. My granddaughter's the other one, different personality. Forget about it. She's probably gonna go get it. I love them.
I remember years ago, but back in the day it was DB3, it was a database technology. The guy was in available.
Yeah.
Faithful to show up and coach and
Yeah.
teachable, I'm willing to learn. But this person, I could tell he seemed available, seemed teachable. And he was, I said, you know what? Like you look tinker on it, but what he said developed a brain to show you. And I said, yeah. Actual. Yeah, and me at the you faithful, and he was teachable. So he's interviewing software of it or push of it. He said, "Can I just show you?" And when you see these, he was that kind of guy. Ended up.
And that's why you want to get different angles and views,
Yeah.
right? A lot of times when we do that, we just get the right, either emotional side
Yeah.
or the rational side, right? You need both. That just happens, Rob.
It was really good.
Yeah, no, that's a great example. You can't label people. Well, when I first interviewed DDS, they told me I was a quiet guy. Serious. She goes, well, you're awful quiet. You know what I mean? Because I was kind of in consulting mode, asking a lot of questions. So I wasn't really more trying to interview. So it was electronic data systems
Yeah.
with EDS with Ross Perot's company.
Right.
Yeah. So that's great stuff. And if you can get that, because you're emotionally attached now, remember, experience attaches you to things. Logic and things make you think. So let's just look, I'm gonna look at the PowerPoint here one more. This is just a sample of, let me go down. These are job fit results. You guys have seen these things. This is the kind of tool, a little bit of what you're talking, whoa, my bad. Here we go, sorry. There you go. So these are different characters of nature reaction. You can see here, they did a summary. This is an old one. This is an old one. Fits the range, it doesn't fit the range. It's not everything, because you might miss, you gotta have all comforting. Some people took this, all right, I'm not gonna hire you. No, you gotta investigate. It's a great thing to ask questions. Hey, tell me at a time when things are emotionally charged, right? And how did you react to that, John? What was it? Tell me the situation, and you dig into it. Oh, okay, you validate some, because that's how you use these tools. Some are non-negotiable, like the triage nurse. So she needed to be over here. Where's the nature of reaction? Right here.
Right. Yeah.
She needed to be way up here. Yeah, on this area, but any of this sales reps, you better be a cool customer. You gotta be a cool customer. Because you know what? What we found is people are gonna press you. There's always clients, right? They're gonna press you just to press you. I wanna see how they act under pressure, because when you get out up in Wisconsin, that plant manager up there, he is one tough dude to deal with. You better be able to handle the pressure. And People Best has 100 better tools better than this. So this is an old school one. They're a great company. This is what they do for a living. So that's a great example of getting a profile. Now, what we do is we just come in and do the whole team. And we'll talk about that in a bit. Okay, so that's that one. Make sure they enjoy the recruiting experience. But you want to get this kind of thing and take an assessment. And so we talked about, acquisition. These are all the acquisitions, have a process. The key thing is you continually use these tools. You should never throw this sales thing. You just use it because it's going to change. You don't stay the same.
That's right.
It changes. Why? You got a different team now. When we were 15 people, when we were even closer, you got 30 people. When we were a couple hundred people, it was a whole different deal.
Right.
Now, when we're 800, you got people over the country. We better have CRMs and capability if we want to stay the same. You better have a lot more accountability. This process took a lot longer because it just did a little bit because there's a lot more people involved. And you got to get it right. We wanted to get it right. It's too high of a cost to not get it right. So, let's go to onboarding. So we talked about this. The next thing in the tool was onboarding. And to me, biggest thing you need to do is you want to inspire them to understand when does communication take place. We learned this at Procter & Gamble, a company that was helping them. So, they're geniuses at marketing. They're psychiatrists to the nth degree. They can make us tick and move, right? But they had a company helping them communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, here's exactly what it is when communication takes place. It's when someone understands, then values, and then acts upon the information that you're giving. So we're talking about understanding, value, and act upon. So when you onboard somebody, you want them to understand value and be willing to act upon what your milkshakes and rose bushes are. That's the most important thing when you onboard. I know there's forms to fill out. So if they're married, what do you want them to come back and tell their spouse the first week when they're on the job? When they go over to their friend's house for dinner, what do you want them to say about your company? Personally, we wanted them to say things like, hey, I talked to this guy named Pete Boyle. He's working down at Procter & Gamble. Here's what he did. He's helping them build a knowledge base, the first one they had across the globe of other R&D people in pharmaceutical, because they keep doing the same projects. One in Germany and one in America is working on the same project. They know the guy in Germany is 8 months ahead and already solved all those problems. Back in early days now, don't forget me, get me wrong, this is early, none of this is early technology.
Right.
Oh my gosh, you ought to see this thing. These are the kind of things you want to talk to them. Or I was at the General Motors Proving Grounds. They're trying to cut, it's crazy, they're designing cars up there. It takes them 50 months, they're trying to get to 36 months. Now we're working on a project about that. I was in the sound barrier room watching these people measure sound. That's what we want them to say. They got excited about the company and what they're doing. That's the idea. When you onboard people, it's one of the most important things we miss. We go to checklists and forms and things like this. We want to get them out there and making sure they know what the milkshakes and the rose bushes are. It's customer-centric thinking. We talked on that in the past here at Noble even. Those are some of ours. How about this one? We did all that stuff I talked about at Procter & Gamble we did. This is one of my favorites because it was one of theirs. So one of our guys is down here, Rock Taylor. These are Case Western MBA guys. They're like, Rob, they're like the people you talked about. They're low-key people, you know what I mean? You can't hardly get a word out of some of them. So he's working on the account, quiet guy. He just notices this stuff. He comes to the client and says, hey, here's a system for you. It'll automate the reset of your passwords. He's like, I'm tired of seeing you guys. 3 or 4 people here working on the automation of passwords. Imagine they got, I don't know, over 100,000 people more back then calling in and reset your password all the time. So Rock automates it. Just does it. And worry about it. They were like, my gosh, maybe they took 3 to 4 full-time employees, moved them out, right? And everybody's excited about that. Shoot, that didn't take him much at all to do that compared to all this other stuff we're doing. That is rose bushes and milkshakes. And the people, when you talk about that, it showed our people they can be creative. You got the freedom to work on your client sites. You got the freedom to ask them and really find out and dig what's going on. Rock just observed all that. That girl ran something completely different. He wasn't even part of that area. That's the difference. Because he felt free. When he came on board, as he grew, they understood that's what the stuff is what we're all about as an organization. That's what gets loyalty in your client space. That's what attracts A players, the type that you need. So for FCA, here's what we would say. They say the why. We want people to understand the why we do things. Because there's athletes, students, and coaches are under more pressure in their life than ever before. They're dealing with confusion. They're dealing with contradiction. They're dealing with having to make decisions about truth on a regular basis. It leads to anxiety, depression. They have peer pressure. They have parent pressure. Everything is performance-based. This is what they're dealing with in the school. So we have found that the athletes and coaches and students that are part of the SCA are becoming followers of Jesus Christ. They're living life from a biblical perspective in ultimate truth. And guess what the key thing is? They're helping others do the same. If you come and experience a huddle, in fact, we say it. Come visit a huddle. Each one visit a huddle. Yeah, visit a huddle, sorry. So the idea there is this. We want you to come and experience the emotionally connect. Anthony Alfieri, one of our young board members, said this. He came in, he's very inquisitive, he's looking around, he sits down in the huddle, and he's looking. I could just see he's a sales rep, he's one of these guys. I mean, he's hardcore, wired. He is for sure a hunter. There ain't no doubt. I mean, you'll meet him in 2 minutes. That guy's a hunting salesperson. I love him. So he wants to know right away. He sees a teacher over there with the Bible open, principal. He doesn't know who they are yet. And the AD and these young students are leading it. 6:45 in the morning now. They're leading this. And it's rich. It's not like a game. This is rich ministry going on. He leads the thing. He goes, well, who's that one guy? I said, that's the AD. No, perfect. Who's that? That's the vice principal. Who's that? That's one of the teachers. They're participating in kids. So he leaves out. He's shaking his head. He sends me an email. He says, I get it. The stakes are high. I'm all in. Because he experienced it. He saw what those kids, and that causes him to act. And it's more in his personal life, in his personal walk. He said, if those kids can do that, what am I doing? It challenged the heck out of him, personally. I mean, he's nice, he's involved in FCA, don't get me wrong, that's a benefit too. But it was personally. That's what really impacted him because he experienced it. The emotion caused him to act. He felt a tie to the milkshakes and the rose bushes, which the stakes are high, it's stakes for eternity. He got it. And these young kids are like, wow, they're investing. That's a great example. When you onboard somebody, you're onboarding him as a potential board member, that's what you do. Can't emphasize that enough. Customize it to the person. So we have general things, right? Customize your onboarding to the person. You got the profiles you have. They need a little bit more training in this than the other person. There's general stuff you do. But customize it to them. Don't just throw them in there. Heck, they got that one down. You'll see an onboarding plan, but you can take it and customize it to the person. They don't need to spend time on that. Hey, they need to spend more time on this. We're just doing technology introductions. Oh, okay, well, we're doing this. They get it.
Yeah, it's like Chevy, so it's just better way.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. And some knew how to drive the Ford, or they knew how to drive it. The other ones didn't.
That's right.
It's okay. We're going to spend time with them. Not the same for everybody. Generally the same, but not overall the same. What we put together was then in those first 2 weeks, it's roses and milkshakes. rose bushes and milkshakes as much as you possibly can. They gotta get connected, they gotta visit clients, they gotta see what you do for a living. It's the most important thing you do. If that's all that happens, that's lasting. They fill out forms and all that stuff, you get them fill out a form anytime. This is lasting throughout your entire life cycle of your company. Think of the people they're gonna influence when they're really excited about that. It's a clear connection, it's an emotional connection, is what it really provides. It's a clear and emotional connection. Non-emotional, I told you. Emotion, I got to understand, I value it, I'm gonna act on it.
It's immersive.
That's correct.
Paperwork service.
That's right.
Fill that out.
We have all that time.
Experiential, yeah.
Experiential is what it's at. Experiential. Immersive and experiential, two good words. So here's another one. I got it. The onboarding one I had trouble bringing up, so we'll have to fill in your onboarding one. You have it in your patch right here. If you believe it's in there. Let's take it out a minute. It's right here. It's on the back. The front's good because it'll talk about company branding and it'll talk about learning the milkshakes and the rose bushes. But so you take this right here and you just customize it to what the person needs. It's 30, 60, 90 right here. And that's it. It's again, the big I don't lie. It's either checked or it isn't checked. And you know, you can't skip steps. Some of those steps are very, very important. So this is just sample one, like a generic one that we have to show as a sample. It comes from real data though, comes from very, very real data and just customizes to what the person needs. All right, they don't need, whatever the one on there. They've done a tons of networking events, great. You know, it's not a problem if they don't go to a networking event. The idea is these are things that help them personally get onboarded. So it's a good tool, big I don't lie, gets you on common ground. Everything we do tries to get you on common ground. And guess what? It's manageable, scalable, it's repeatable. Learn from it. You can take it, someone else can use it. It's manageable, scalable, repeatable, allows you to grow faster, allows you to empower people. Those people that have trouble communicating, it allows you to do it. The people that have trouble putting things down and get them in order, it allows you to do it. Now we can customize that to what's the 20% that the person's different. That's what standards and best practices are all about in general. You actually spend more time customizing it to what's unique about the customer. Harvard Business Review, why does satisfied customers defect? It's because they don't feel completely satisfied. And that means I think all the products and services you deliver are for me, especially. You're like my only client. Well, when you have standards, process, best practices, you can spend time doing that. That's the idea. It's no different than when our people come through. It should feel that way. Man, that was special. I was on board. Like, yeah, it was a special thing for me. There's some general stuff you do, but there's also things you gotta work out. So, acquisition of talent. Here's now onboarding of talent, milkshake, all through it. And now here's the developing of talent. So I want you to picture this right here, but think of it for the whole team. I didn't get a good picture of it, so that's all right. So Doug, it goes back to what you said before, if we had it for the whole team. So we would have this for the whole team, everybody be up there. And then my buddy Greg, he's at the top. And we show this to him, just nicely articulate. It's going across this way because they had so many people going down. So these went, reversed them this way. So you can just see it, get it out there. And here's Greg. He's the head of sales for a national organization, huge company. They do security doors primarily. Probably see them, all security doors everywhere. He's like this. I'm sitting right next to him. Here's Greg. He's looking up just like this. I'm looking. Greg's just going like this. Oh my gosh, what did I do? We're done, you know, I'm assigning motives to his behavior, which I shouldn't, right? I'm already thinking, oh my gosh, he's mad, something's going on. He's shaking his head. I go, Greg, what's up? And he goes, finally, and then he looks at me and goes, none of them are like me.
Uh-huh.
He goes, none of them are like me. He goes, I manage them like they're all like me. He goes, I lead them like they're like me. I think I demand of them and expected them to do the things that are like I do and that I'm good at. But it was just an epiphany. Now, this is a good performing team. This isn't a team that's, oh my gosh, we got to fix it. He's on a life cycle we want to accelerate it.
Yeah, right.
He's investing. They're a great performing team. So, you know, out of that, he is a trend. He used who he was, very transparent person. He showed the people himself first, not everybody. And we walked through that. This is what it means. We had fun with it. This was colored. People were laughing. They say he was a crazy, but similar to myself. Like I got to have this detail done over here. I mean, we were laughing at the thing. And all the people they started my go, oh yeah, that's Greg. Right. And he just opened himself up. But then they also saw, man, the guy had some competencies. Right. Sometimes that mattered over here, but in his role as a national guy, probably not as much anymore. He had competencies they never realized. He's world class at them. He scored some of the highest scores we've ever seen in some of this stuff. Creativity and organization and problem solving, analytical. I mean, he was like world class at it. So guess what? When he popped his team down, and we popped them up, they saw some big holes in his team overall where he was crazy strong. And guess what happened? Then they started working together and they reviewed them with each other. Now they come together different. Man, I understand. They understood. They saw it. Then they also laughed over here. Gave them permission, right? To say, Greg, you're just being crazy on that stuff. Yeah, that's me again over here. Then the team accelerated. They just accelerated growth. Some of the people had to leave the team because they saw it's going to be hard. Why? They had some of the things that were hard to change that Susie talked about. It was needed, but it wasn't teachable stuff. And it was okay. It's a nice amiable stuff. I get it. I see where we're headed. I'm not going to be able to be on the team. Just was what it was. And the new people they hired, exploded. So he was willing to be transparent. And his team exposed himself first. And then we went through it. Wow, what volume. It's just open communication. That's what it did. It fostered open communication. We got on common ground. We understood each other more. The managers did it with the people that they were managing. It was a blast. It really, it was a lot of fun. Mainly because he finally got it, right? We operate that. We manage people like they're all like us.
It is amazing. One thing to be,
Yeah,
but the more
it is, isn't it? And be willing to expose some of that. Yeah, you got to really just be a little bit vulnerable out there. Get out there.
Honesty with
So,
yourself.
because you're right, now you got open, because they'll do the same. Yeah, you're right, that's it. So Greg did that and it worked so well. Another one of my friends, so he's going to be hired. I mean, he's in an organization, he's been there a long, long time. Only job, real career job he's had. And they wanted to move to a VP role. His VP role left, he's like a field VP. They want him to really be the corporate VP of overall the sales. Okay, so think of this on the candidate side. So I sat down, coaching him and stuff. He's just a dear friend. We do this for a living. I said, well, hey, what do you like to do in a position? Tell me what the passionate things you are. What do you like in a role? Just give me quantifiable stuff. I don't even know. It doesn't have to be VP, all that. Just what is it, right? So he tells me that. And then we go through that whole thing. Where are you looking to grow? What are you looking to contribute? Nice question. So that was it. The other one you would match if he's looking for a new job, you'd say, what kind of company? Give me the profile of the companies you like. All this financial stability, market, all that. But he already had that. He wasn't looking to leave. And so as it turned out, they were really pressing him to take that job. And then we found out, he goes, I'd go crazy. I love being with the clients out in the field.
Hmm.
I can do this job, right, and stay there. And that's just where I'm happy. I don't want to travel to California. I'm an inside guy. I'm an inside guy now that helps move things around for the company, for the field people. He goes, I go crazy. So he said no,
Yeah.
and you're thinking someone put the fear, hey, you're gonna put the kiboshes on your career. Of course, guess what they came up with? Him and 3 other people, they divided the responsibilities, and even hired a VP. So. But he just said, I'd be miserable. So they could have lost a person over that.
Right.
You know, valued, seasoned, knowledge, a person that understands the company over that one thing. But he just went back to criteria. So, and here's what, when you look at your A players and developing, trying to develop, Colonel Charles Bachman said this at Roy Hall's conference just on Thursday. He says, and it's great, everything was from a military, D-Day, Korean War stuff. It was a blast just to listen to him. Because he's putting everything, and the stakes are high there. He says, I had to learn here, the stakes are the ultimate of highest. So we gotta have some of these things done. You gotta understand all this stuff, because the stakes are really high there. He says, don't reward great work with more work. More things. Hey, you did good on this, we're gonna give you 3 other projects to manage. We're gonna give you all this other stuff to do. So you gotta be careful on that. There's some of it, but you can't just overload people. Because we wanna maximize what they do best.
Yes.
I hate to take the creativity out of Rock Taylor, we call him. His name is David Taylor down at Procter & Gamble, just because he's so darn busy. He doesn't have time to be creative, because we gave him more. That would have been luckily we didn't do that. Other people we have, and we paid the price on that, or they paid the price.
It's good.
So I'm gonna show you mine real quick, and then we'll wrap. I'm gonna show you mine right here. I'm gonna get a little bit of exposure. So this is me, communication style, and I forgot how old I was, I should have remembered. Because I changed, it's where I was in my life cycle. You know what, these assessment tools are all great, except for me, they got me wrong. I was the only one, it was a glitch in the system that they didn't get right. I used to argue, that's not me. So here's communication styles, and you can just see what they are. Yeah. It's visionary communication style more so than ever. And my behavior and communication, you can see 79, I'm avoiding, I don't want to deal with this stuff. If you'd talked to me beforehand, it was crazy. Heck yeah, we're training people at this level. When I was at this phase, you're really into visionary things and stuff like that. No way. And I tell people I'm gonna do you a disservice if you ask me to manage people day to day, all the detail. I'll do you a disservice. Yeah, sure. Just avoid it. So these are some of the things. If you look at the categories of how we communicate. When Misty and I, she's one of our administrative people on the back end, did this with each other, we laughed. It was like the Greg Schreiber thing. She goes, oh, now I get you. Now I get you. It was just that awareness. And so these are fun things. It just gives you the list of what they are. So analytical, here's visionary. Man, you're out there, right?
Good.
That's the idea. And then, of course, there's the styles and, there's the things for the competing. I want my way all the time. I know everything, just ask me. If I don't know it, I'll tell you I know it. My one friend, we always tease him, we go, the key thing is, this is you, Jimmy, we say, whether you're right or wrong, you're never in doubt. No, man, he's never in doubt. We have a lot of fun with that. So this is just good stuff. Again, it's just a view into yourself. It's just what it is, okay?
Yes. Oh, that's the end. Take off when you. I was just. You're asking to say yourself confidence.
That's awesome.
But even using some of the same 2004. So it's not like it's refactoring it and
It is.
and it costs
it's new to me, but it's been a,
Yeah,
use it, you know.
use it, and, it's just a tool, it's one view. It's the end zone view, it's a sideline view.
And
Yeah, it's overhead view.
is this?
I think so, yeah, there's a bunch of them out there, that's happened to be the
Okay.
one,
Okay,
yeah, that's.
just wondering what you.
Of course, I went in and manipulated the results.
Of course not.
You know, you change though as you go and grow.
You do.
Some of those things, you have more of a tendency. On that one, I'm like, totally what I'm doing now, that's it. And it doesn't even mean I'm not detailing anymore. If we launch this new stuff I'm going on, I'll have to be crazy in the detail to do it. But I don't want to deal with that day-to-day, that managing life cycle. I don't have I'll fail at it. Yeah, I'll do the company a disservice. So,
That's good. Yeah. Thanks, Rob.
always be recruiting. We're always recruiting. When we meet people, we are. You're always interviewing when we meet people. We're always being evaluated. And what do people want to hear? Man, what do you do? I don't want to say I work for FCA. I'll tell you, hey, I do this crazy thing. There's some missionaries in the public schools. Have you ever heard of such a thing? It's the craziest thing in the world. Yeah, I go in there, they got Bibles in the room, they're talking about Jesus, they're helping these kids with the issues that they're dealing with. And these kids are becoming boom, boom, boom. That's what I say. Oh, yeah, I happen to work with FCA. Yeah, you go right to the why or whatever it is, you know.
It's good.
Know who you are and what you are not as a company. And Doug, you said, perfect articulate who we are as individuals. Because we'll be able to get people to help complement us, get people that fit into the goal. So that's so important that you know that. And it's okay. Just like we didn't provide the proper training and education for entry-level people. Once we knew that, we got it. We didn't go through that life cycle getting the wrong people in anymore. Get it right, the investment's worth it. Talent management is communication. Get people to understand value and act upon what you do. But it's communication, it's milkshakes, and it's rose bushes is really the core common ground that all these other things, it needs to be weaved through. If you look at a DNA strand on the top of one of those documents, the first one, it needs to be weaved through our entire DNA, and you got to continually communicate it over and over and over again. People just don't get it. They're gonna have an aha moment somewhere. You gotta catch people doing it, give examples of it, so that it's weaved through and it has to be in your talent management approach, because that's where it starts. It's hard to do if you don't get the right people and that fit the match of what you're trying to do. Go back to what Susie said, and the creative company. If they don't have that passion and those kind of things, it's just not gonna be a match, no matter the other things they can do. So, there's a friend of mine, this is, he's a pastor now, he's in college. When he went to college a number of years ago, he went to a very high competitive college, high academics. And he was, as a freshman, he was having a very, very tough time. Not unlike kids today, depressed. Comes from a father who was ministerial services, right? He's not exempt from any of that. Maybe you think even more so because you think you are. Oh, that ain't me.
That's right.
And he's really down and out, and he got his head on the table. He's in a lounge area at college, and two girls come up to him and ask him, "What's wrong?" And he just shared, and they happen to be, it's kudos to FCA, they just happen to be coming from an FCA meeting. They got all fired up about going out and helping people. This is the first time they went out. And there he is, a pastor sitting there. Wasn't a pastor then, just a young student trying to make it through life. That's impacted him. They went out and experienced. Someone told them the value, just like we talked about, a milkshake and a rose bush. That's what they were doing the first time they ever did it. They became friends and helped him get in the discipleships program. And he's one of the leading pastors in town. He's emotionally connected and sees the value of being in the schools because it impacted him. So I just encourage you as your company to take some of those things with you. And it's been a pleasure.
Thanks,
Thank
Ryan.
you.
Thank you.